Do you guys want to hear the story? The story of the original Among Us? Hey everyone, I'm Manuel.
That's pretty sus. I'm B.
Hi, and I'm Ruby.
And you're reading the wrong way. Hey everyone, it's Reading the Wrong Way, episode 5, I believe we're on right now. This is take 2. We'll cover that at the end, or maybe we
Our
won't.
first time recording.
I've never recorded before.
I've never. Yeah. What am I saying? I'm lying. I'm lying. See, I'm sounding kind of sus right now, aren't I?
You know who else they thought was sus?
But yeah, we're the manga we're talking about today is the lovely short 4-chapter series by Moto Hagio. It's Junichi Nin Iru in Japanese, aka They Were 11! Exclamation point. Released in 1975. It's a shoujo manga classic. And yeah, we have a guest this week, or this month, I should say more accurately. We have a guest this month, Ruby. So introduce yourself a little and then tell us why you picked this manga.
Hey, my name's Ruby. Let's see. I don't really do too much online, so you don't have to worry about following me anywhere. Okay, but yes, so They Were 11 with an exclamation mark at the end. Like Manuel said, it's by Moto Hagio. I picked this because Moto Hagio is really well known for her shoujo manga. She's part of this group they call the Year 24 group, and I've been just kind of reading through different artists, I guess mangaka, if that's the right way to say it. I've been reading through different mangaka that are in this Year 24 group, and I'll talk about what the Year 24 group is a little bit. So before this group came to be in the 70s, shoujo manga wasn't really a thing that was well respected. It was kind of seen as from what I understand, it was seen as like little kid stuff, fairy tales, and not as complex or like readable, I guess, than shonen action. Oh, I'm gonna punch the guy and then we're gonna become friends, and like all that stuff. It wasn't as respected until a group it's not like they started out like as a group. It's just a bunch of female manga artists who started pushing the boundaries of what is usually done in shoujo at the time, and it became known as the Year 24 group. And it has artists like was it Ryoko Ikeda? She did Rosa Versailles. I know that one is probably like the most popular one I think of that people might know offhand when it comes to manga artists that were part of the Year 24 group. If you are a BL fan or a yaoi fan, you might know The Heart of Thomas, which is Moto Hagio's most famous manga. Another one that would be really well known from the Year 24 group would be, Kaze no Ki no Uta, or The Song of the Wind. The Wind and Trees. That one is by Keiko Takamiya, who actually lived with Moto Hagio in a shared apartment, or they both lived in the same apartment complex. I don't remember, but because of that, part of the reason why the Year 24 group handles different, I guess, subjects, like sci-fi wasn't really a thing before Moto Hagio started really doing it, is they had a friend who lived at the apartment complex, and they had both said, like, we want to start doing more complex things with shoujo manga and show off what, like, shoujo manga can really be about. We're not just like some silly little fairy tales. And that person introduced them to like all this literature and stuff, which inspired them to do The Heart of Thomas and The Song of Wind and Trees, and just got the ball rolling with this whole Year 24 group. And it's a good handful of female manga artists. It's not just like the three I've mentioned, but those are just the ones I know of at the moment. But yeah, Year 24 group, I've been reading through them, and this one caught my eye because Moto Hagio, I really like her storytelling, and this one, I was kind of avoiding it because I thought the title was a little bit weird. I'm like, oh, is it about like 11-year-olds? I'm 30. I don't really want to read about 11-year-olds anymore. I don't care. And it looked a little too shonen-y based off the cover for my taste. But no, it just like the original Among Us joke. It's about there's 11 people on a spaceship, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I think.
I think it's also worth mentioning before we move on from Year 24. They're called Year 24, not because they're all 24 years old or something like that, like something weird like that, but they're called Year 24 because they like rose to prominence, or I think they debuted around Year 24 of the Showa era. So, which I think was 1975, in our reckoning, something like that. So that's why they're called Year 24. It marks their debut. I mean, Year 24. You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, B, do you want to set us up with the premise of They Were 11?
Yeah, so, like Ruby already mentioned, there's 11 people. But the whole idea is we're sort of in the distant future. I actually don't remember if there was a year ever.
Yeah, I double checked before we started this first recording, and no, there's no year mentioned, but there is a reference that technically like wars have gone on between some of the alien peoples for a couple hundred years. So we're like 25, the year 25 something probably. That's my guess.
Yeah, we're in like the somewhat distant future, and there's a bunch of these people who are trying to, I guess it's a like an entrance exam to like a big fancy space school where they want to go on to do all their big space jobs. And in order to get in, there's like 700 applicants, and they all get split into these groups of 10, and they end up on a spaceship, and they gotta kind of like, it's like a really old abandoned spaceship, derelict ship out there orbiting a planet, and they have to sort of figure it out in 53 days, and then they find out there's an 11th one of them, and that kind of starts off the intrigue and all the conflict.
Yeah, the setting is very high sci-fi. It's actually funny because no real reason to go too in depth with it, but they mention like the Terrans, of course. Terrans, not humans. Like Terrans go off.
The classic sci-fi thing that you see. I think you see it more before Star Wars, which this is by a couple years. That it was kind of like the elevated, like, oh, we'll call Earth Terra and people will be Terrans. And you don't see that so much now, but it used to be super common in sci-fi.
So like, Terrans go off into space, they start colonizing, they start doing the American thing, they start colonizing everywhere, and then they find some other people, most notably the Sabins, who they start warring with, but along with the Sabins, there's two other like sort of empires and a crap ton of unaffiliated planets. And I just find it funny that there's this huge setup about this, like, basically
a lot of lore. There's a lot of exposition.
Like they could do so much in this, and not to jump way far ahead. The sequel deals a lot more with all this politics stuff, but it's still like weird that they set all this up and then they give us a story that's basically The Thing in space. Like John Carpenter's The Thing in space, The Thing from outer space, but like The Thing in outer space. So yeah, so like it's kind of a crazy setup for like The Thing in space and all that stuff. But so there's we have our 10 students, there are 11 students, 11 test takers from across the galaxy. There's, let me put this closer to me, actually. I swear my eyes I'm getting old, guys. Ever since like a few minutes ago when Ruby's like, I'm 30, and I'm like, because I'm actually quite a bit older than 30. So it's just like, I felt my back just give out when she said that. But yeah, so we have King Maya, who's a Sabin. We have Soldan the Fourth, Dolicus, Dulcicus. Okay, first of all, we should back up and say something about this. There are a crap ton of of translations for They Were 11, which is funny for how tiny this story is. Um, I want to talk a bit more about its history, its publication history at the very end. So we're going to jump around with some of these translations. I have it written as what I saw in the Viz comic book edition that came out in 1995, 96. So bear with me when I say weird things like, Dolicus Soldum the Fourth, which I think is not what like other translations say.
I think other ones say Doricus.
Yeah. Mine says Doricus.
Doricus. Here says Dolicus, which is the typical RL thing in Japanese, but whatever. And Baseska is what they call king, is actually King Mayan's name, because I think he's the king of Maya, or the Mayan king, or something like that. But his name is Baseska. But I think they say Bacheska everywhere else. But anyway,
I'm not 100% sure, but we mostly just call him King for the story.
Yeah, because a lot of these people have nicknames, because yeah. Besides those two, like, they're kind of the two antagonists. They're both from Sabin. Like, there's other Sabins. We won't name all their races here, but there's other Sabins in the group. But those are the two that kind of that kind of like decide they're going to reunite the Terran thing. And by the way, I looked it up more. Whenever they only vote like 3 times in the story, but whenever they decide to vote to break a tie, the Sabins always vote together. I feel like that's lost in some of the things unless you totally remembered that. But yeah, there's like some
that like the lore is kind of a lot. It's kind of too dense.
Yeah, it really is too dense for like what the 120-page story it is.
Yeah, like the first time we recorded, I was surprised you guys remembered all of that stuff. I guess because I'm not a sci-fi person, I'm really just like a Moto Hagio reader. So honestly, the big lore dump at the end, it kind of went over my head. I was like, okay, I read that, but if I get confused, I'll like just go back later on in the story. But like, I never found myself going back to get it out, like all straightened out.
But yeah, so we have our two Sabin royalty people. Soldam the Fourth is like some other noble, and obviously King Maya is a king. But besides them, we have Amazon Carnies, Chaco Kaka, Dorf Tusta, Toto Ni. Dolph.
Another weird translation thing, because Dolph is a real name.
Yeah, but
and Dorf is...
Dorf just sounds like you're mispronouncing. Huh?
No, they just call him Red Nose.
Yeah, Red Nose. Because he has a big red nose. If you watch the animated movie, like they actually say that out loud. In the manga, they just start calling him Red Nose. Mm-hmm. Toto Ni, Vidminir Noom, Gunigis Goktas, who is Gunga, right? That's Gunga.
Yeah.
And then Gren Groff, which I think is Glenn Gloff in the, and he's Rockhead.
Yeah, it's Glenn Groff.
Glenn Gloff. Glenn Groff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just confusing. But yeah. And then our two main characters, we have Tadatos Lane, aka Tada, and then we have Frol Berry Cherry Frol, which I'm actually still confused. I've always been confused if it's the movie names her at the end of the story, or names them, at the end of the story, Frol Berry Cherry. But in the manga, at least the one I read, they only ever just call them Frol Berry Cherry. Like as if they're like share, I'm not sure if the Frol is there twice.
But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, same.
Who cares? Frol. Well, I say who cares if they're not the actual focus of the entire story.
That's kind of how it is with a lot of the names. They're like, here's my name. We're not really going to use it at all for the rest of the series.
Well, forget not using it throughout the rest of the series. We don't even care about most of these characters.
Yeah, there's only a handful of them who are really central to the narrative in any way. And it's not even just that they're central like that. It's some of these characters aren't really thematically interesting or do anything.
Yeah. Red Nose Dolph literally only does like 2 things plot relevant. the Amazon does like one thing plot relevant, and besides those two things, those things that they do, the two of them might as well not be in the story. You know, they could have given those things to anyone else. Toto Ni and Chako Kaka, we're not mentioning them again because they don't do anything ever. Everyone else kind of has a bit more, you know, some stakes and things. Funny enough, even Doricus, Soldom the Fourth, even though he kind of acts as like the foil to King Maya, he might as well not be in here either.
Well, he's important though, because in the anime, in the dub, he was voiced by David Hayter.
Oh, okay, so that's worth mentioning. Yes. Well, we talk about that dub, but
and yeah,
important to the play.
Wait, no.
He plays it.
No, he doesn't. In the
Yeah, I'm
anime,
thinking
it's
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon plays the guitar.
yeah, Amazon plays the guitar.
Stephen Bloom.
But yeah, so the plot is, you know, like we already mentioned, they get on the ship. The test is that, you know, groups of 10 are all going to split up and do the little survival mission. Why that's the, you know, the final test for this? Who cares? Well, actually, not who cares. That's actually addressed at the end. But they get aboard, they find there's 11, and that becomes the main plot, you know, focus thing. They all start suspecting each other, and suspicion falls on Tada, who's kind of like, oh, I don't know what, you know, he has some psychic powers, but then Frol, and this kind of like, you know, drives a lot of things forward from here because everyone thinks Frol is a girl at first. And
Yeah, the two main things going on are that Frol's gender is up in the air, and Tada has magic space powers.
They call it intuition.
He has magic intuition.
He's not telepathic, but he like knows approximately a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's whatever that meme. The what's it from? It's actually from
Adventure
something.
Time.
Oh my god! But yeah, he has.
Doing Adventure Time memes.
Approximate knowledge.
We're doing Adventure Time memes in 2025.
Oh my god! This brings back all the anime con vibes where, you know, people will be like, oh, I don't even get into it. Anyway, but yeah, so there's a lot of back and forth about, like, you know, Frol's gender. Actually, let's tackle that first, because even though it's not the main plot, it's like the strong B plot, if you will, to the whole story. It is like, I think, I don't know if this is a weird way to phrase it, but I don't know how to put it. It is like probably what makes this manga so interesting and unique is like the way it handles the subject matter and the character.
I agree with that. I could see that. I think what is really, I guess, interesting about Moto Hagio's work is that throughout all her work, she does, or at least the ones I've read, she does talk about like gender a lot, and there is a lot of like queer themes going on.
Yeah, and that's kind of shared by a lot of, you know, shoujo manga at this point. I'm too bad we don't have that anymore from the last recording we did. But when we briefly compared the budding romance between Tada and Frol to Oscar and why do I always forget his name? Andre, thank you. And we mentioned how, like, you know, how I remember reading an interview with Ryoko Okada a few years back. It's an old interview from like the 90s, where she mentioned how they couldn't really do like a full on like gay romance in manga back then. So like the way she got away with it, I assume that's kind of similar to other Year 24 artists as well. The way they would get away with it is you just make one of them a woman. And obviously, like, what was it you said about Oscar?
Oscar, oh yes, I can't take credit for this joke. I got it from TikTok, but it's like, someone said, "I am a man the way Velveeta is cheese," and I'm like, that just perfectly describes Oscar from Road to Versailles. Oscar is a woman the same way Velveeta is cheese. The whole thing is that she's a girl, but from birth she's raised as a man and says, like, you know, and like acts that way.
So Frol, it takes the things a step further, and throughout the whole interactions, there's a lot of, like, you know, offhand lines. They're always comparing themselves to Tada. Then there's my favorite line about, like, you're going to be a man your whole life. Don't you ever get tired of it? That's that's fine. And it's funny because I was thinking about that after we were done recording and everything like that the first time, and I was like, man, that is a really good line in general. I'm like, man, I'm tired of being a man in my life.
You have options.
Exactly, we have options. We have options.
What is it in I Saw the TV Glow? It's not too late.
It's not too late.
There is help.
Oh, I don't remember. Like, there's still time or something.
Oh, I don't know. I was just making up my own.
It's been a while since I saw it, but yeah.
Yeah, and then so on the ship, there's another one of the aliens. We threw their name out there earlier. Vidmanir Noom is like this lizard reptile person, very tall, very very lizard, very snake. They keep referring to Froll as a Manir, and by the way, I like how like I don't think we've really discussed this enough. Not only does no one comment on like what's a Manir, Froll doesn't even ask what a Manir is. I think obviously Froll kind of understands like what they're implying, but like Froll's all like like what what speak English or speak.
Yeah, it's kind of like have this concept on my lizard planet, and they're all just kind of like, oh, a lizard concept, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, like they don't care.
But yeah, so that goes on like whatever until Froll gets drunk, and then Froll kind of just spills the beans to Tada, which is funny because Tada doesn't even care either. But Froll starts talking about how they have to get married, and like back home they're gonna like basically live in like space Utah. So like she's destined to get married to some lord who already has 5 wives, and it's like, huh? And Tada just takes it in stride, whatever. But then like Froll's like, I'm gonna go take a shower, and she goes to take a shower and gets naked in front of Amazon, and Amazon picks up on the fact that Froll doesn't have male genitalia, which I really, 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 really wonder what Amazon saw.
Smooth like Barbie.
Smooth Barbie.
Smooth like a Barbie.
Yeah, but like, is that what it was? I know. I don't want to repeat everything we said last time, but I brought up the whole thing about let the right one in, about that one scene where the boy like peeks in on the girl changing, and it's like, oh, so that's because there's not a similar gender dynamic, but there is a gender dynamic to that movie, and I'm like, I wish there was a scene like that in the manga. I just want to know. I just want to know for my own sanity, even if it is bare like a Barbie doll. Just give me that, because I just want to know more about this process, because we learned all about snake people's process in a minute, but yeah. But yeah, it turns out.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Like we did, they do like lore dump of the space lizards, like I guess like growth cycle.
Yeah,
but that was it. So,
B, do you want to explain what Froll Berry Cherry is gender wise? Because it's kind of a mouthful.
So Froll's what's the lizard word? Manir?
Yeah, Manir.
Not actually what they called on Froll's planet, but I don't think we get at any point like a name. I don't think it's
they do say a word, which I looked up, and everyone tells me it's not a word we use anymore, but it is the word that the manga uses. I think all the versions use it. The movie does.
Oh, but I meant more like if they have like
a space word
on their planet, like a cultural like the way they have Manir on the lizard planet, on New Planet. Like they don't seem to have any kind of like specific language to describe it, but basically Froll's entire like planet, in their culture, their species, sort of, because they're human, but they're like advanced human, later evolved human. But they're sort of everyone on their planet is essentially sexless, genderless.
Yeah.
Until they reach, it's either the firstborn, I think, gets to become a man at a certain point, at like a coming of age after like a period of time, or anyone else can choose to become a man if they prove themselves worthy through something like this this sort of school entrance exam for big super space school. And I think they mentioned Froll's like the youngest in their family after like a large amount of siblings. So it's kind of like Froll doesn't want to live as a woman, but the only chance they have to become a man is to sort of get into this space school and to finish this specific test. Because like they talk about how you can take the test over again after a period of I think 3 years.
Yeah.
But Frol doesn't have that long to wait. This is kind of their absolute last chance.
Yeah, like Ruby brought it up like the last time we were discussing this, that brought up the thing about age, and I didn't think about that when I was reading it the first time. But now that I obviously sit here now, I'm like, it's kind of implied that changed, like, you know, when, because they like shoot him full of hormones, by the way, the people from Frost Planet, they technically will eventually become like move towards a gender on their own naturally. At least that's what they say within the story. But I guess because they only want so many, they want to control the male female ratio to a certain, for whatever reason, they don't really explain that. They just like shoot them full of hormones, and I assume that happens during, you know, when they hit puberty. So like these are probably relatively young people. This test has no age limit, but like I just find it interesting. I'm like, oh, I wonder how. I really wish the manga now had ages attached to these characters now, because I'm like, I wonder how old Frol and Tada are. But anyway,
they did come off as teenagers because they're the main characters, and it is essentially a coming of age story.
Yeah,
at its core.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Sorry, I was gonna say the closest we get is at one point, like Frol is comparing his height to Tada, and Tada's like, "Well, yeah, I'm 5'5". So
short. That's so short.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, obviously, I guess they don't consider, like, you know, because Tada is human, Terran, but like over there, King Maya off in the corner is like, if Tada's 5'5", King Maya has to be like 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that, because he's fucking tall.
Yeah, he's huge.
But yeah, what I find funny, and what I think it's worth mentioning, is that the manga and the anime and everything all use that term. I don't want to mention the H word, which I feel isn't, and you know, I guess intersex is the more like PC term to use today, but that's not really correct, is it? Because like like B said,
no, like I wouldn't say Frol is.
Yeah, they're not like both gender. Yeah, they're like genderless.
Yeah,
like in what did I bring up before? Knights of Sidonia has also characters who are, I think only one character who comes from like, we're like a third gender, and their whole thing is in Knights of Sidonia that they can decide
exactly
after some period of time.
So,
or I remember if it's something like they fall in love, but they can decide who, like, what gender they want to be, and their body physically transforms to.
Okay, wait. I didn't get to mention this the last time we recorded this, so I'm so happy it came around again, so I get to talk about this. Okay, so for me, in my opinion, Frol is definitely like some third space gender, right? Some third gender, not a man, not a woman, but like technically not anything that we know of. Was it this whole Manir thing that like New keeps talking about? You're a Manir. Eventually, they're like, he says like, oh, it means angel on my planet, or kid, I guess could be like another translation. But I thought it was interesting that he says it means angel, because automatically in my mind I was like, oh, like a Furby. So I don't know if you remember like those little Furby toys from the 90s. I think I read that Furbies are also genderless and they're angels. So like, I guess people were asking like, do I have a boy Furby or a girl Furby? And the company was like, oh, they're genderless angels. And I'm like, oh, okay, so like Frol isn't a Furby, basically.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that before too about Furbies, which is funny. Frol is it's not Frol Berry Cherry, it's Frol Furby Frol Berry Cherry. By the way, I love that name. Any chance I get, I will say her their full name, Frol Berry Cherry.
Furby Cherry Frol.
Furby Cherry Frol. I also love how like and the reason I keep saying her is obviously like, we'll just cut to the chase. Because I think I find it funny that when we recorded last time, we kind of had a huge discussion about like how their storyline ended. So in my head, I've already resolved myself to like the ending that I chose to read it. So let's get back to that. Let's get back to that, so I can explain why I keep changing my terms here and there. So, anyways, they're the Furby gender. Just to cover real fast about Vidmanir Noom, they're snake people. Like they're born And babies, they're like, genderless, like we already said, but they're like thick and scaly, and when they shed that skin, they become a gender, I guess. But their planet only has like a really long spring and a really long winter, like like a century basically. I think they do give us a bit of a time frame, but it's a long time. And because like they shed their really tough skin, they can't survive the winter that's coming. So like they become the gender, they have babies, and they die. They only live like one long year. Well, to them, a long year, which is like a century to us or whatever. But some people in this process don't become any gender. They just stay like the Menhir status, the genderless status, and that's what Nu is. They become like a monk.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes that Nu was assigned monk at birth.
Assigned monk at birth. I love that. But yeah, and I think it's worth thinking about. Like, would Froll's people have that option? I really want to know more about Froll's planet, because I'm sorry, I don't want to keep bringing this up, but I saw this video about them. I don't know if it's because like my computer heard me say it, so they started throwing videos like this about at me. So I don't want to compare it to like too much to like Utah and like the fundamentalist church there or whatever. But like, I really wonder if there's some sort of weird like zealotry going on that planet. I'd also describe it like some weirdness, so to speak. Because it's like, why? And part of me wonders, maybe the like
easy to read that into it, and it was probably intentional.
Yeah, because part of me wonders if maybe Froll's people would also have that option, the Vidmenhir option, the monk option. Not open to them, but like some of them might stay genderless, but like maybe that's why they force like the one or the other, or in this case, like specifically like exactly what they choose. Oh, you get to be male, do something cool, or be firstborn. Everyone else is a girl, because we're not giving the option to be the third one anymore.
Froll does say that it's through hormones that are like chosen. So it probably is physically possible for them to remain genderless. I don't think it comes up at any point that there's like a reason, like an actual physical reason why they have to choose one. I think it is entirely societal.
Yeah, I wonder if they have the weirdest government ever. Like, I'm just like dead serious. I really want to know more about it. Moto Hagio, if you're around, we need a whole series based on this. Like, we need a Game of Thrones-esque like world building thing going on here.
I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, maybe not that. Maybe I went a little far there, but yeah. So getting back to that little bit, Froll wants to become a man, for a lot of reasons. I guess because like they just don't want to be like the fifth wife of a rich lord, which is fine. I mean, who would want to be that? But we'll circle back around, I guess to that in a minute. Let's get back to the main, the main focus of the plot, which is like Tada's psychic powers, or his intuition, and the ship. Because it's not just the 11th member that's like getting everyone all riled up. It's the fact that they are flying too close to like a star.
Yeah, so it's weird to me how long it takes the story to get to the point where they're orbiting the star, because at first it's just like the last manga we read, White is orbiting Black. The ship they're on is called White, and they see that they're orbiting a black planet, and they decide to call it Black as like a nickname. And their whole thing is like the orbital period is going to be 53 days, so they think whatever puzzle there is to solve, we have to figure it out within the 53 days. And they're kind of like, okay, we have to get like the ship up and running. And there's kind of a whole weird thing where we don't really know about Tada's intuition yet, and Tada like knows his way around the ship mysteriously. And he's not really thinking about it. He's like, yeah, this is here, this is here, this is here, but everyone's kind of like, huh, why do you know?
Yeah. And we didn't quite like elaborate too much on it because we kind of just wanted to jump into it. But there is a panic button. That was the whole Among Us joke. There's a panic button they can hit at any point if they choose that, like, hey, this is too much, or hey, we're dying, or like we're at each other's throats, or whatever. And when they hit the panic button, I don't think that they ever said you'll fail, but they think they'll fail. The assumption is that they'll fail the second they hit it. And
I don't remember if they say it explicitly, but it is kind of like it does seem implied at least
Yeah, that they hit the
that
button
they're
that they
ending
failed
the
to
test
test.
before the period is over.
So like nobody wants to hit that panic button, but that panic button is always there. And also when they first got on there were bombs on the ship, which thanks to Tada's his little like psychic powers, he was able to defuse. And that's important later. But so now they have all that, that's our little setup now. But by the third volume, which is like half, literally, we're in the second half of the story. We're almost done. They realize that they're floating too close to the star, and that them getting that close to the star, well, obviously, eventually they're gonna just burn. But like, it's gonna start getting so hot there, like in like above 100 degrees, like American units. Uh, Too bad we don't have all those jokes about the football fields, remember? Because the manga says Celsius.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We
The manga said Celsius, and then you had said that you
Yeah,
actually
I
looked
wrote it
up.
down. Yeah, so they said that it was going to get to 51 Celsius and they would burn up. So I looked up because we're all Americans who only know Fahrenheit, savages, and it's 124 Fahrenheit roughly.
Yeah, it's
That's
funny
going.
because neither me nor Ruby bothered to look that up. We just took it in stride.
Yeah.
But like, I guess that's hot.
Yeah,
I believe you.
I had no idea. I was like, so there's numbers on the pages, and I was like, oh, whatever. And then B had said on last recording that it's 124, was it degrees? Right? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, dang, that is really hot. No wonder they're all freaking out.
So yeah, so they made a joke about like, oh, how many football fields is 51 Celsius? because for those that don't know, 124 degrees is rivaling some of the hottest recorded temperatures on Earth. Like, okay, I'm sure that's like if you're in a volcano, that's another story. But like, as in the hottest inhabitable, like temperatures on Earth. So inhabited, I should say. But yeah, so the plane is like infested with what are they called, the ivy, the
Conductive
Yeah.
ivy.
yeah, the conductive ivy. And this conductive ivy is I think it's they want it there like in the ship construction because it like insulates things. It's
Yeah,
like,
so the ivy will like insulate from the heat,
yeah,
and once the ivy gets hot enough, it kind of solidifies and it does insulate from heat. But the sort of byproduct of that insulation is that it's toxic.
yeah, it's toxic to I guess everyone, not just humans, but it's toxic to everyone, and it creates a crystal, and that crystal gives everyone the spotted, what is it, the red spotted fever, Dell red spotted, yeah, Dell red spotted fever. Like, screw you, Dell, you make crappy computers and you kill everyone. But yeah, so that's happening, and so now we have that big plot point to like worry about. And prior to this, like Tada's had his whole like his whole flashbacks to like why do I know this ship? He's like, I just know his intuition. But it turns out that Tada is the survivor of this ship's great massacre, where like 90% of the crew died via this exact thing happening. As in like it got too hot, the crystals formed, everyone got the disease. They had no lab mice to create a vaccine, or to create more vaccine, I should say more accurately. So only some people were able to get it, and most people died. And Tada was one of those survivors. And now they have to figure out the vaccine, how to vaccinate everyone or hit the panic button. I also like that this disease is apparently totally treatable. It's not like, I know we said this earlier, is everyone in space an anti-vaxxer? Because if there was like this, if apparently this conductive ivy just grows on ships normally, and there's a chance it could kill you, you would think everyone in the universe would be vaccinated against this.
Was
Right?
it? I feel like they had. I don't remember now if they already had known about the vaccine before, like
Well, because
when
Tada
Tada was
has
a
it.
kid, or if they developed it.
Well,
No, but I'm saying, I guess in the time between, yeah, that makes sense.
you would think it'd be like, okay, guys, if it's that deadly, and if you're in space, and who knows if we have no rats to make more, which apparently, once again, I know I said it last time, but like that blows my mind that's a huge focus, especially in the anime, about like, oh, we're out of rats, we can't make any more vaccine. Poor rats. But yeah, why isn't everyone just vaccinated already? Because it starts becoming a thing where like the heat's driving everyone crazy, like literally they're getting kind of like cabin fevery. And
Mhm.
King Maya's all like, Tada's already vaccinated, let's get his spinal fluid. He like literally says that.
Yeah.
Because not only has Tada been like suspicious, he's been sus, he's been acting a little sus. um, they think he almost got one of his homies killed, Ganga, earlier, uh,
Mhm.
because prior to the whole heat thing, they were just fixing the computer because like they're just trying to like make the ship work because they don't really know what they're supposed to do in those 53 days. And Tada hears a voice say, "Flip the switch," and he flips it, and it wasn't anyone in his head. It was just like a weird psychic entity. But flipping that switch almost killed Ganga, and then they have to do emergency surgery because Tada's also a doctor. I'm sorry, Tada's very Mary Sue in some parts of this. Like he is
It is kind of funny that Tada, the one of the ship's teenagers, is like one of the only ones who knows
everything.
like anything
Yeah.
medical.
He knows
I mean, I guess
everything.
knowing his way around the ship makes sense, but yeah, it's funny that he's like sort of the resident doctor.
I'm sorry. I kind of get the whole plot because his elder, the person who raised him, because his parents are dead. I mean, well, we already know why they're dead now. They died from the disease, but he doesn't know that at that point. But his parents are dead, and he's raised by the elder of his like planet, and the elder apparently was a surgeon. But I'm sorry, even if my dad was a surgeon, why would I know how to be a surgeon? You know what I mean?
Well, maybe along with his intuition, maybe like career knowledge is passed down through DNA.
Apparently, I don't know, it's space magic, but yeah. So he works.
Maybe he knows how to be a doctor through his intuition.
Yeah, because this plot isn't weirdly complicated enough for this tiny story. It turns out that Ganga's planet also has an infectious disease, which is not related at all to what's going on now. But like everyone dies by the time they're 30. So he's kind of like this cyborg that's injected with like plant cells. I think they are, right?
Yeah.
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 And the hope is that eventually they could develop a new form of people or some sort of new strain to like combat the disease. So he has green blood. He has green everything. He's Green Man inside. And that becomes important later on. But yeah, so he's green person. And he also help. I mean, like he defends Tada when they're all trying to kill him a couple times. Which once again, like I pointed out, like all the Sabins vote together.
Yeah, Ganga's great if we want to like spend some time talking about Ganga now, because I know Ruby really liked this guy.
Ganga is my favorite character. I mean, like I could go on talking about him, but I mean, Manuel pretty much covered it. Besides, oh, he's my favorite character, and he's like half cyborg. He's all green inside, and that's just like a super interesting plot point to me. I really liked that.
Yeah,
I think he's a really interesting character. The way he's willing to sort of like throw himself under the bus to save Tada when he later is like, no, I'm the 11th.
Oh yeah, so,
and just the way he's kind of like the helpful guy the whole time.
And it's funny because he's a perfect antithesis to Rockhead, Glenn Groff, because that motherfucker is willing to throw everyone else under the bus, and by everyone else, I don't mean everyone else, I mean Tada.
When Ganga first gets like electrocuted, he's like, "Well, Tada, who told you to do that?" Like he's really digging into him.
Yes.
And Ganga's like, "It's okay." Wait, no, he's passed out, right? But then once he wakes up, he's like, "It's fine. I don't care. I got electrocuted. So whatever."
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is kind of funny because like even if. And I know they're under pressure. I know they have the whole thing situation. Like, which one's among us? Like, who's the imposter? I get it, but like, accidents could happen. You have like a 12-year-old like fucking with the computer. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like
and it's funny with what we find out about Glenn, that his whole thing is that he's Colonel Glenn Groff, that he's the 11th, and that he's like he's there to make them fail the test, but also to make sure no one dies.
Yes, so he's doing a damn good job. And like I mentioned this before, but like he does a damn good job, because if you read it with that knowledge, like if you like watch the anime or read the manga, if you experience all the media forms of the story one after the other, and you know that, just pay attention how many times he tries to like throw Todd under the bus, and it's kind of messed up, because it's not like he's sowing distrust in general. Like he's all like, "Man, isn't it weird that Frol's kind of like not a man," or or just throwing other suspicion on other people. I don't know. He's not, or isn't it? Hey guys, isn't it weird that King Maya took control so fast? He is not doing that at all. He is just like, yeah, Tada did it. Tada's acting sus.
Yeah, like he's there for the test. He's there to sow discontent, but for the story, he's there to be the antagonist for our main character. Well, it makes sense, but yeah, it is funny how he's very like, yeah, Tada did everything.
It's funny because we said that as a joke, but this really is turning into a manga. So that's literally like the argument you have about who's the imposter.
And I saw Tada vent.
I
saw Tada vent.
I saw that event.
It's funny because have you guys played Among Us recently? Like apparently,
they have like
people can vent and not be the imposter.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, people have roles. It's been a while. It's been like this for, I feel like, at least several years.
Yes, like this is not a recent update. This is like 2021 update. But like
it's sort of like Among Us became the big thing in the zeitgeist and then went away really quick.
Exactly, but like if you play it now, anyone can vent. It's just like, well, anyone. I should say that one of the roles can vent, and so like that meme doesn't make any sense anymore.
Wait, I haven't played it since probably like 2020.
I mean, no one else has. Like that's like millions of other people. Don't worry. But anyway.
Moto Hagio has.
Yeah, no, there's the running joke that everything is based on They Were 11. Like everything is based on They Were 11, including the mangas. Somebody saw They Were 11, and honestly, I'm joking, but that might be true, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end. But yeah, so getting back to the plot right now. So yeah, like everyone suspects Tada. No thanks to Rockhead, and no thanks to King Maya, who just like never liked Tada. They basically are gonna kill him for his spinal fluid, but Tada has already figured out a way to save everyone. His idea is he's going to create a vaccine using Ganga, because Ganga exposed himself to the disease on accident when they were like figuring out that's what's going on. He exposed himself to the crystals and gained he gained the disease. He infected himself with the Del Spotted disease, and but because his body is all like cyborg green blood, super soldier, super healing factor, he's fighting it. He fought it, whatever, and so they can make a vaccine out of his blood or something. I'm not sure how that works. Why they don't make it out of just? I mean, you don't have to get it from a spinal fluid. Couldn't they have always just made it out of Tada? I'm just whatever. Who cares? That's not important, I guess. But maybe for this new strain, you need that exact strain. So he's going to do that, and he also figured out that those bombs that he disarmed earlier, if they get all of them together and put them all on a certain part of the ship and then detonate them, that should be enough to blow them back into the orbit of the planet and away from the star. And because Tada is the only person who is able to do anything here. He's the only one who has any brains in his head.
Yeah,
pretty much. Everyone else is like going crazy over the heat. They're like, let's kill him, and they're basically starting a mob and like just yelling. Even when they're not like trying to kill Tada, they're just like arguing amongst themselves as well.
Why is there a spoon in my soup?
I love that. Yeah,
it was a fork.
It was a fork.
I keep saying spoon. Why is there? I said that last night too. Like, why is there a spoon in my soup? Why is there a fork in my soup? Which is really funny, by the way. Like, I think just like, how does that happen? Like, I kind of get maybe dropping the fork in the soup, but how did you put that into his bowl? Like, I don't know.
It's really hot.
That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. That just trips me up whenever I think about it.
They're just kind of like falling apart
Yeah,
as a crew in general.
I'm not gonna
falling.
lie. If I found this, if we're probably gonna die tomorrow, and I'll get this disease, and we're all gonna blow up, and if we just hit this button, we'd be saved. But nobody wants to hit it, and some fucker puts a fork in my soup, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Well, wasn't it? So I actually don't remember now because we saw the anime more recently, but I don't remember if the manga says it. In the anime, they do say like, "Oh, you're eating dishwater."
Yeah, in the anime, the anime,
And then they have a
really
food
funny. Yes.
So in the manga, I don't think they mention the food. I mean, I did look it up afterwards. They don't mention the food. I mean, the first of all, the food fight's not there either, but they don't mention the dishwater. Todo Ni, the only thing he ever does in the plot is that he's also he's in the kitchen duty person, and he also grows plants in like their greenhouse. But he made the soup, and I guess he just fucking dropped a fork in it. But like I said, I'd be pissed too. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to kill anyone.
And like knew what it was. Was Totoni in the very beginning the one who like discovered the ivy and kind of knew what it was and was like, "Oh, I recognize this."
I don't
feel like there was.
I don't remember who was the one who knew
any.
it. I remember Frohl accidentally was the one who discovered it because Frohl gets scared of it. It's like and then like runs to Tada, like like in a very girly way, like it's one of those early signs that there's something between them. But yeah, so they're gonna do all that. And by all that I mean kill Tada and drink his spinal fluid. Like once again, I don't know if I get that mad, but I would flip a table and probably I'd kill Totoni.
Though what's so funny to me is King Mayan is the one who's the angriest out of everyone about this. But he's also like, well, if I pass this test, I'm gonna go back home. I'm not gonna go to Cosmo Academy. Actually,
he's doing it for like the life experience, like because they mention it when him and Dorcas, like when they meet up. It's like, oh, I know you, like you're King Maya. You ascended the throne like last week or last month or whatever the heck it was. Like he has like something he has to go home to. Like he's like the trust fund baby who goes on like the Slack. What's it called? The Slack division. When they go to like they go to the country and like to the impoverished nation and they go like help out, but it's just like for the Instagram.
Yeah,
he's doing that basically.
Yeah, and Fro's over here like my entire future relies on this test, and Fro's like chilling. I mean, like Fro, not super chilling, but you know what I mean. Fro's not like, let's kill Tada. Well, King Mayan is like, I could just go home and be king of my planet, or I could be here and be mad and kill Tada.
It's also funny, like I don't know if Tada just has that low of a charisma score or something, or just rolled one each time he thought about doing anything like that. But it's like, why isn't Tada trying to get like the half that keeps voting with him? Why is he trying to get like, hey, why is King Maya always trying to like just kill me, and why is he always mad? Like maybe he's the 11th. No one ever throws it back at him. And I guess the idea is that
I think Tada's as interested in finding the 11th, in the same way that Frohl is kind of like, don't worry about it. There's not really an 11th. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe whatever, but like we have more pressing issues to worry about.
Yeah, I guess that is true. And also I should point out, because maybe somebody's listening to this, they're like, oh, they actually address that in the manga. They kind of do, because Doricus is like, I know it can't be you, and I know it can't be me, because we know each other. So I guess they technically did fix that plot hole that's not really a hole. But yeah, so anyways, they're going to kill Tada, and Vidmanir and Frohl have this whole thing where it's like, Frohl, you should shoot him, because earlier they had found some stun guns that can either kill you or stun you depending on their setting. It's like, you should shoot him, because if King Maya gets him, he's gonna just kill him. And they're gonna shoot him, but then fucking what's his name, Red Nose shoots him anyway. I mean, on accident, or not on accident, but he shoots him. And thankfully Red Nose doesn't think to like put the gun high, so like he's fine.
Yeah, the guns were another reason why they were so suspicious of Tada, was because he knew where the guns were right away from his intuition and having lived on the ship before, but he didn't know that yet.
He should have just kept one with him, and
like, oh, why did he know about the guns?
I always keep myself strapped. But then again, that would have definitely they would have definitely jettisoned him earlier. But but no, so like they kidnap him, they imprison him, and now the vote doesn't matter because now the vote's easily broken because they have like the 11th tiebreaker. Which, by the way, Rockhead votes with King Maya the whole fucking time. At what point he's like, they're not gonna kill him yet. Like, honestly, when King Maya started like running after him with like King Maya was gonna kill him, you think Rockhead would have had the perfect time to be like, yeah, now it's time to hit that button, you know, or to reveal like, guys, I'm the 11th. Don't kill Tada, but he just starts running with them. You know?
Get the admission from Glenn Rockhead though at the end that like he hadn't done a very good job, and he's kind of like, yeah, this wasn't my best moment.
So Froll, man, I don't know why Froll is watching Tada. Like even if like you think Froll is able to like hold down Tada or whatever the heck, which I think they've even discussed amongst themselves whether that's possible. Why put the one that's been chummy with Tada the whole time in charge of keeping him prisoner? Because Tada overpowers Froll, and then Froll has their whole moment with like, just kill me, and then Froll's like, nah, it's fine. I mean, Tada's like, nah, it's fine. Just tell him I beat you up or something like that, and here's your gun back, and I'll go meet me in over here when I go continue the mission of saving everyone because you guys are stupid.
And that's why Tada doesn't really like engage too much with all the theories and all the arguing and stuff, because he's like, no, we gotta just like do this.
And it turns out that Tada was completely right. That they put all the bombs in the thing, it knocks them off the course. Oh, and like we mentioned, the only reason they actually stop is because Ganga's like, I'm the 11th, and that calms everyone down.
Glenn.
No, Tada says it. I mean, Ganga says it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're right. Okay, yeah. Ganga is the one who says like, I'm the 11th. He sacrifices himself.
And they never quite like explain it later, but obviously he's lying. He just said that to like calm everyone down. But he says he's the 11th, and so like, okay, fine. I guess we'll like we won't eat your spine, Tada. So they go through with the plan. There's a very funny scene where like Froll's drifting off towards the sun, and Tada goes to rescue her, kicks her, and then he starts floating off towards the sun. This whole dramatic scene that I liken to Final Fantasy VIII. The scene where like Squall goes to get Renault in space, which once again, and they did it first, and then Amazon, whoever the hell's out there with them, was like, nah, it's fine, I got you guys like in a safety thing. Just renders that entire dramatic moment kind of like null and void.
Yeah, and like Froll is like, why did you sacrifice yourself for me? Is it because you don't see me as a man? Like those kind of
yes.
Like Froll's trying to have this big emotional like thing about his gender, and Tada like sacrificing himself, and Amazon's just like, hey yo, I got a safety rope. All right, let's go back.
Like y'all have been harnessed this whole time. It's fine. I mean, they weren't harnessed, but you get the point. Like, it wasn't that big of an issue. I just found that really funny. And of all the things that the anime added, that's like the one scene I know off the top of my head that they took out. It's the only thing I think they took out was that random scene. I can only assume because they even realized like that was just kind of weird and random. But
they're like, let's take this scene out and then let's add a food fight.
Exactly. Let's add a food fight and give Amazon a guitar. That's literally what they did. And Amazon, he's the epitome of the fucking of the douche who brings the acoustic guitar to the party and ruins everyone's night. Remember, it's like Froll's like, "What's that song you're playing? It's beautiful." And he's literally just tuning it.
Yeah, I remember Froll says like, that sounds beautiful, and he's like, it's this ancient instrument from Earth called a guitar.
I mean, also, I get why they did it, but why did they make that into like space harp or something? I don't know. Why did it have to be a guitar?
So he could be cool.
So anyway, everything kind of wraps itself up nice. Like they end up like not floating into the sun. Everyone gets vaccinated, and it goes forward like a month or so into the future, because now it's like day 40 something. I forget what the exact day is. It's in my notes somewhere, but who cares? It's day 40 something. They're getting close to finishing the thing, the process. and they're eating one day, and Furl suddenly like gets sick, and they're like, "Hey, what's wrong, Furl?" And Furl didn't take to the vaccine. They never explain that, but maybe their Manir like genes just like rejected it or something. But they got the disease anyway, and then again, they are like kids working on like a fucking who knows what kind of actual facilities they have. Maybe they just don't know how to make a vaccine properly. But and then becomes the whole argument about like hitting the button or not. Because the Furl obviously is like, no, I need to become a man, and we'll just wait. We only have a few more days. And Todd is like, no, you're gonna die. It's like this isn't gonna like, you're literally gonna die.
And I think this is kind of like the only time where you get a little bit more into like the dramatics of it, I guess, because this whole time it's in the manga, anytime like Furl or like New says something that's like, wait, I want to spend more time on it, they kind of like speed away immediately because like the ship's blowing up or Ganga, I don't know, is dying again or something. You know? And then this is the only time where Fro's like, no, like I'm not here for fun like King Mayan, and like this is my future. I can't wait the 2 years. This is the time like Fro actually gets to speak more than like 1 or 2 panels about like why something matters.
Yep. Yeah, and there's the other line where like I have this in my notes exactly, where I'd rather die than become a woman. So it's like, damn, just straight up.
With a pretty heavy line. I felt like Fro finally got to like be as dramatic as he wants. The gender stuff here is like where it starts really hitting home. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Like everyone else on this ship, like they just won't be able to go to the school and they'll have to try again. Frol is literally like, yeah, I'd rather just kill myself. So can we please not hit the panic button? Like,
yeah, and they're all kind of like, no, like we're doing you a favor because you won't die. And Frol's like, no. But they press the button.
Well, kind of more importantly, before they press the button, one of the reasons that they're kind of like Frol kind of like resigns herself to it is because Tada. Well, okay, I should also like clarify. Yeah. So meanwhile, like there has been obviously a growing romance between them from the get go. Pretty much, they've been kind of playful with each other. Even though there was a point, I don't even know where it is. I lost it in my notes now. But there was a point. Remember when Tada straight up like punched Frol on the chin, just like bam. I forget why, but not out of anger. I think they were just like play fighting, something like that. Just punched him, but yeah, it happened like in the first volume. They were saying something about like I think because Frol talked about ghosts, and Tada's all like,
yeah.
That maybe the 11th was a ghost.
Yeah, because and Frol was joking around. Frol was like, I think the 11th's a ghost, and Tada's like, shut up, bam. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, damn, that's kind of crazy. Just punch him. But prior to that, when they mentioned the whole Manir thing, there was this point when actually before the Manir thing, when just what's his name, Amazon was like, oh, because Amazon knows nothing about Manir. All he knows was that like Frol didn't have a penis. So Amazon runs up to tell them all about it when he sees Frol in the shower. They all think Frol is a girl. So like Tada has a moment where it's like, oh, I knew that Frol was a girl this whole time, and he starts imagining like how Frol would be as a girl and stuff like that. And we should also like I feel like we glanced over it this time, but when they like another reason why I really wanted to see like their like genderless Barbie like region or whatever the heck, it's just because I'm weird, for just to clarify. But when they show like Frol like taking the shower scene, they have a very stereotypically male like upper body when they're naked.
Like the way Frol goes about it too is like Frol's not shy. Frol has like no hesitations about it. Frol's is like, I'm just gonna go take a shower. Yeah. Whoever sees me. I don't care. Like Frol carries himself as a man. He like no hesitations, no like, oh my god, what if they see me? None of that. It's Amazon who like makes it weird because Amazon freaks out and is like, what the hell? And then like goes and runs to tell everyone. And we also didn't mention it earlier, but this is like a shoujo from the 70s. Frol is drawn a little bit like very stereotypical of the time. Super long, curly hair, the big round eyes. Frol looks almost like Oscar from
Yes,
Rose of Versailles.
Frol looks very much like Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even like when Frol takes off their helmet at the beginning, that's why everyone's like, "Oh, there's a girl on the ship," but I thought it was supposed to be all men, and Frol's like, "No."
Yeah, Frol's like, "I'm a man. What are you talking about?" Like,
and I also like I also need to mention this. We kind of threw it around here a bit. We didn't talk about the anime that much in this second round, but the anime does a okay. Let me rephrase that. Actually, the English dub of the anime does a terrible job of telling you this, of like, telling you this story wise, because the voice actress who plays Frol in English is Wendy Lee, who is an amazing voice actress, does great work, but just plays the role as a Southern girl, a Southern woman, like it's just a Southern female voice. And there's also some line changes or some missing lines, I feel. So I didn't know. I watched the anime first, and I hadn't experienced the story in a while, so I forgot about the whole quote unquote plot twist. I forgot. I thought they were a girl because the way Wendy Lee played the character. She sounds like Rogue from from X-Men. She sounds a lot like Rogue. She just sounds like, imagine Rogue from X-Men. You wouldn't hear that character, and I guess you could say like if they're just like, oh, I'm actually a man. Yeah, okay, I would go with that, but that's not really delivered in the same way in the anime. So if you watch the anime, you might be like me and just get like shocked when that happens. Like, wait, what? I didn't realize that was an issue we were having.
Yeah, like I don't remember the Japanese dub very well because when we decided to do this for the podcast, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the movie again, but this time I want to do something different. I'm gonna watch the English dub. So, like, there is no attempt at any androgyny, like nothing. Just straight up played like a Southern woman. In the Japanese one, I feel like there's at least some androgyny.
Big time. I lost her name somewhere, but I got it. Michiko Kawai. Yes, Michiko Kawai is her voice actress. Also, is an amazing song at the end of the movie. But Michiko Kawai is her voice actress, or their voice actress in the movie, and they play it like they actually go back and forth. They do the right thing where it's like they play it most like androgynous throughout, and then suddenly when they have their more girlier moments, you can like they play it girlier. You know what I mean? You can hear it. Even if you don't know Japanese, it's obvious what they're trying to do. I don't know if it was bad direction. Maybe Wendy Lee didn't know. That's what they're supposed to do. Who knows? I'm looking at you, Les Claypool. Les Claypool, I think I mentioned this before, but Les Claypool the third I think was the director of this one, of the dub. I'm looking at you. I'm gonna go talk to them next time I see them at like every con ever.
Yeah, well, it's kind of reminding me like, when was this dub made? I mean, because when Sailor Moon was dubbed, like they were cousins, right? This is still in the era of. It's
like 1996.
The movie was 86, so I don't know how long after.
No, it's 90. It's 96 or not. It's sometime between 95 and 97, so it's in the mid 90s. To be fair, like I guess we're taking into account that there was some pressure to be like, oh well, this has to be for like kids, of course, because that's what animation is in the U.S. We can't have them learning about gender politics. We didn't do that much this time around. I keep making that joke that like if this was done today, like Evan Beale, like first of all, people are like, this is woke, but there'd be somebody who does not know the material be like, if they just made a new anime, they'd be like, that Furlberry was always a girl in the Japanese dub. You knew that, right?
Yeah,
I can hear someone doing stupid shit like that. But anyway, yeah, so at the end here, one of the reasons why Frol becomes okay with pushing the button is because Tada's all like, look, how about you move to my planet where we're not polygamists, by the way. We're not fundamentalist Mormons, in Utah. How about you come to my planet and we'll get married after you become a girl? And I mean, he said it way better than I did. The way I just said it makes it sound like it's like you have to be a woman first. But
yeah.
But the implication was she has to become a woman now that she's not going to pass the test.
Yeah. And he's like trying to console her. He's like, it
Yeah.
might not be too bad. Like, you know, if you wanted, you could marry me. We're monogamous. I live on the planet of monogamy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like monogamy, like 3 of the monogamous star system.
yeah. I just want to like make it clear. Like, he is not telling Frol, yeah, you can marry me if you become a woman.
Yeah,
It is.
that was worded very badly on my part, but yes, he's trying to comfort her. It's like, yeah, it's not, like it's not all bad. And it's actually kind of cute now, especially if you think about like, how potentially like, they're younger and they're obviously close in age, obviously, but I mean like they're both younger, so it's kind of like almost feels like one of those cute things, like, oh, you want to marry me, like 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 kids in their like first like little schoolyard romances almost.
It is like a really cute, touching moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then Froel seems, that's actually why Froel's kind of like, oh, I guess it's not too bad. I guess hit the button, So they hit the button and it all becomes obvious. Like, oh, well, first of all, they just take Froel away because like Froel's like they need to like make sure Froel doesn't die. But
Yeah.
and then it turns
Frol's
out
like highly infectious.
yes, they come in all in their hazmat suits and everything like that. And then it turns out, we already mentioned this, that Rockhead was the 11th, and. Okay, so it turns out that everyone has an 11th in this test.
Yeah, 'cause the whole thing was it was a social experiment, not experiment, but like a test to see how they would do under this kind of pressure. And the idea is that there's always going to be an 11th person, so to speak, on any mission you do in space, because there's always going to be something that goes wrong.
Yeah, it's a really interesting plot. Like, it's funny because part of me wonders if like they say that too. They don't really like mention this at all. But this would have done pretty well, and if only fucking Rockhead did a better job at like instigating in the right way, quote unquote, the right way. This could have been done to foster better Terran and Sabin relationships. Like, you have the fucking king of like one of the planets here. Like, why make him hate like one of the only other Terrans on board? Mind you, I guess it did work out that way because King Maya does apologize, and it kind of like I like to think that he's like, maybe I should think a bit like before I start wanting to eat people's spinal fluid. I should think a bit more, but still, I find that funny. That
Rockhead's like, I'm not here to like fix like interplanet
exactly.
like relations. I'm here to be realistic.
But yeah, speaking of realistic, so like they go over some of the stats. Obviously, it turns out they did a really good job because most of the other teams didn't even last that long. Okay, so the manga mentions. I went back to watch on the anime because I was confused about this. The manga mentions that some people don't get put in spaceships. Some people just get put on planets, and I'm sorry, that just feels easier. I don't know if I'm just like if I just think it'll be easier.
They might have to. I said this the last time we recorded too. But they might be in wherever the thing is, and their 11th is their dog is secretly a guy that won't eat them or whatever.
Their dog is. Well, I guess that is true, but I just find that funny. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it just seems more dangerous.
It would be harder on the planet.
You think?
Yeah,
I think it would be easier.
It depends on what the test is. I guess.
Because like the ship, they had their own space to like grow food and like to sleep and stuff. If they're just like on a deserted planet or something or whatever, like they might have to like build their own shelter and figure out what they're gonna eat. On the planet, they were like, on the ship, they were like, oh, there's food here. Oh, and we could grow vegetables. Yeah, all right, we're good.
We can imagine the tests are probably designed to be like pretty similar to each other, so everyone has about the same like chance of passing. But yeah, we don't really know what kind of tests they get outside of this ship.
So yeah, they do mention 2 other teams that I thought were worth discussing. Team 15. By the way, they were Team 1. We didn't mention that they were Team 1. But Team 15 pushed the button in 35 minutes. So they literally just had the Among Us game. They literally got there. Well, hopefully they disarmed the bombs. Apparently the bombs were a thing on every ship. They disarmed the bombs, argued with each other, and then hit the switch. But then, speaking of bombs, Team 10 blew up the ship because they fucked up in disarming the bombs, which is very fucked up in general. That like, what? But everyone survived. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. Like, imagine you're a student and you're trying to get into like this school, and like one of the tests is you have to not blow up.
Exactly.
And then
like, don't blow up.
For Ganga, Yeah, and like for Ganga too, like Rockhead was there on board next to him when he gets electrocuted and almost dies and has to go under surgery.
Okay,
And Ganga, yeah,
so yeah, it turns out we should have mentioned this earlier that like not only is Rockhead the 11th, but he's a psychic. He's an out and out psychic, and unlike the intuition that Tada has, so he actually was able to overpower Tada because we also didn't mention this, but like Tada was the one who's like, okay, I'm a psychic, kinda, I'm sort of a psychic, so I'm gonna see who's lying with my intuition, but and he's like, no one's lying except technically Rockhead like lied to him at first to test him, but Rockhead lied the whole time. He lied to him, you know, in the psychic powers or whatever, and he was the one who psychically told Tada to flip the switch. So he almost killed Ganga.
like it's his fault. Like imagine like you almost die because your teacher accidentally told someone to blow you up.
Yeah,
And then some 12-year-old is the one who's doing surgery on you.
exactly.
And like the teacher's just there like watching. Like he doesn't even assist, right?
No, he assists. I think, as he feels bad, he does mention it was an accident. Okay, he mentions everything was an accident in this thing. Like, they didn't know that the freaking disease would happen. They didn't know about the star. All that was an accident. Which is just like, damn. But you almost killing Ganga, was it? I mean,
like,
it was
that
an
was
accident. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
He has blood in his hand. Ganga has this giant scar probably down the middle of his whole frontal body, his whole torso.
Ganga has a really good lawsuit on his hands.
Exactly.
Like,
It's like, don't worry, Ganga. Your planet will have enough money to fund their research for a few decades.
yeah, because I'm assuming that like the Cosmo Academy they're trying to get into is either like a college or a high school. So can you imagine just like trying to take like some entrance exam for whatever college you're going to, and you like accidentally get electrocuted because your teacher sucks at his job and you almost die?
So yeah, Rockhead's an asshole. We have a funny little thing to get to give a little coda to his character in a minute. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna get there. But I guess the last thing to discuss is like what happens between Furlberry and Tada. Because it turns out, obviously, like they all passed. I don't think we mentioned that they all passed. They actually did very well.
Yeah,
so they all passed.
They pressed the button thinking they were gonna fail, and then it was kind of like, no, like you guys handled yourselves really well, and like pressing the button was the right thing to do because you were deciding like the test doesn't matter, making sure we're all alive is what matters.
So yeah, like so this is where the three of us had a think like not an argument, but we interpreted this bit differently. I'll just say my part. So like, the Tada goes to visit Frol in the hospital or whatever, the infirmary, and they're like, oh well, you don't have to become a man. I mean, you don't have to become a woman after all. You can become a man because you passed. And Frol's like, well, being a woman's not bad if I get to be with you. And then they decide they're going to both take the pilot training course together, and that's how their story ends. I read that. Yeah, I read that as in Frol decides they're going to become a woman anyway.
Sort of. I think it can be read multiple different ways, but it kind of the anime does make it more explicit that Frol's like, I'm going to become a woman and be with you. And in the manga, I feel like it's a little more.
They leave it open to interpret.
It's a little more like, yeah, I might, like, we're gonna. I read it as like they're deciding to like figure it out later, but for now, like, we're gonna go to school together. And we're definitely gonna, like, you know, continue whatever the relationship is, but Frol is kind of saying, like, I don't have to decide right now. Like, don't worry about it.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I agree with you pretty much there that Frol isn't like, oh, okay, 100%, yeah, I'm gonna be a woman. But okay, I pulled up the panel. Frol says, if you still wanted me to, I would happily become a woman. So. It's not like Frol saying I will 100%, but like if you wanted me to, I might, you know?
Yeah, and the urgency doesn't matter because now Frol's passed the test. The whole thing was like, if you pass the test, you have the right to choose now. And Frol's like, okay, I've now earned my right to choose, and now I'm going to like spend some time thinking about it.
I love our different translations because what I said, by the way, was pretty much the exact quote without realizing. I didn't have the page in front of me now, but I'm like, wait, that's what yours says? Because mine says, I don't mind becoming a woman if you want me to. uh,
The thing
so
about the visuals, sometimes it's going to be sort of you're inserting your own ideas and culture into the translation because it's not going to be exactly one to one.
are you saying he's also a fundamentalist? More, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna stop. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to throw Matt Thornton under the bus like that. But yeah, that is true. Honestly, I want to ask Moto Hagio if you're listening to this, because I know you are. Um, let us know if that was open. I, do you want to spoil the sequel bit, Ruby? Because we know technically.
Yeah, so They Were 11 does have a sequel. The name sure is long.
Yeah,
It is They Were 11 continued, Horizon of the East, Eternity of the West.
yes.
So in that one, I think at the end, honestly, it's been a while since I've read it. I think Frol does become a woman.
Yeah.
She decides so she could get married, but like throughout that manga, like Frol and Tata, when they do have their little like their kids, like they have their little arguments. Frol's like, "Oh yeah, well maybe I won't become a woman."
Yeah.
Like,
I love that she weaponizes it. Well, they weaponize it a bit because they're not a woman yet. That's the whole thing. But yeah, I love that. So yeah, that's a little spoiler alert.
Sorry, a little spoiler for the next one, but
it's funny. I just wanted to bring it up because technically, I guess once again, in case anyone pointed out, Moto Hagio totally did actually address this in universe, and it's funny because I haven't. I read the sequel manga recently, but I know that plot line more because that's the one that Morning Musume did a musical on. That I have that musical like on my computer all the time because I just love the Morning Musume musicals. So I'm like, oh, it's based on that one. But so yeah, that's pretty much the manga. The manga kind of just ends like that. They literally just walk off into the sunset in their own direction. Did I mention this last time? There's all the paths everyone walks, and then Froze is empty because obviously Froze like in the hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and it just is like to the future.
To the future. Okay, so the anime movie. So this got an anime. Okay, the manga came out in 1975. It got came out in 75, and I think it might have ran to 76. The sequel ran in 76, 77, and in 1977 it got a TV movie that had a Takarazuka actress playing Frol, and it was just a 1 hour movie which I cannot find anywhere. I think it's lost media. I'm legit. I'm not even joking. I'm probably, as soon as we're done here, I'm probably going to go on to like the lost media message board and ask, and just throw that like search in there because I can't find it on my own.
Go on like Yahoo auctions.
No, no, because from what I understand, and I have looked this up a bit already. From what I understand, it never got an official release, and this is before this is literally a few years before any commercial VCRs were in like made. So no one was able to record it off TV. So it might just be 100% lost media. Like, how do people even know it exists? Unless somebody wrote it down, I guess. But anyway, and the anime movie came out in 1986. And that's the one that was dubbed in 96. And then there's several stage plays, including that Morning Musume one I mentioned of the sequel. That's in 2016. But yeah, most importantly is that anime movie. So it has a few changes. It has the food fight. It has a bit more like, Frol stuff in there in general. We don't get to hear about the Snake People's version of Manir. What's his name? Steve Blum is like Steve Bloom. Bloom. He is like 5 people in it, and
yeah,
most important of all, there's epilogues. There's epilogues to everyone in that one. Do you remember all the epilogues?
It might only be 3 characters. I was trying to see who Steve Bloom plays.
Well, three's still more than enough.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, in case anyone wants to doubt me, like everyone, like not everyone, but a lot of the voice actors are using like different names, and I think it's for like SAG reasons, like uh, union reasons. So yeah, they're using different names. But let's
Yeah, like I mentioned David Hayter. He doesn't appear in the credits. It's under his. He has like one name he uses for anime, and I forget what it is. Sean Barker, maybe something like that.
Oh yeah, I made the Bob Barker joke. But yeah, so here are the epilogues. Todo Ni, he published a new theory. Todo Ni is the little guy who I said I'd kill if he put a fork in my soup. Um, he published a theory on the distribution of plant life throughout the universe. Chaco Kaka, who I don't think we mentioned at all in this version of the pod. I don't think we mentioned him even last time. So yeah, he's a nothing character.
Yeah.
He's a nothing character. He established a small interstellar trading company. Good for you, I guess. Dolph Tosta. That name is totally different. And I wrote it the way it's romanized in the movie. It's totally different. Anyways, he was appointed deputy judge of the Interstellar Court. So Red Nose, who shoots first and asks questions later. I didn't make that. I don't think I pointed that part out. But yeah, he shoots first and asks questions later. He is like the judge of the universe. Oh my god, that bodes well, doesn't it? New publishes a best-selling collection of poetry called "The Summer of the Manir," which is cute. Ganga goes back home, tries to fix his disease. Dorica Soldan IV, he leading a busy life as an administrator on his planet. Amazon, because of course they gave him a guitar, he becomes a composer of music. Because of course everyone just needs to have their one character trait and just go with it. The Flanderization is real. And then King Maya, he's in charge of resource development on his planet, and he marries Saddam's sister. So they're like super, super intermarried, that little royal family is. My favorite one though. My favorite one. I know we haven't got to Tada and Froberry. It's not them. My favorite one. Our homeboy, Glenn Groff, Professor Extraordinaire. What happens to him? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, I sure do.
He dies. Well, he dies trying to save one of his students during training. You know damn well somebody probably read the manga and they just wanted to throw that in there. It's like, yeah, good riddance. And I like to go ahead. You gonna say something?
Oh no, I was just saying, like, they really just throw him under the bus.
Yep. I like to imagine the next in 2 years from now, or 2 years from this story, he does the same Tada bullshit, but like he's too late to either. Okay, there's two scenarios I picture. One, he does the Tada bullshit, but they're gonna shoot Tada for real. He jumps in front of the bullet, or the future Tada stand-in is like "fuck you" and stabs him. And I know that's technically not what the epilogue said, but you know, the school wants to cover it up so they don't get sued or whatever.
I just think it's funny. Like, the anime ends, right? Everyone like to the future, whatever. There's nothing like too terrible happens to anybody, and then like at the very end, they slap. Oh yeah, this guy just dies. We're not gonna cover it or anything. The movie's over, but just so you guys know, this guy dies.
No, it's funny because like I think B mentioned the last time we recorded this about like that was a very big thing that people, I mean not people, but that like media would do back then. But it reminded me.
Yeah, you see it a lot in 80s movies that like there's a little end card at the end. That's kind of like here's what all the characters did. It's not like in everything, but you know, there's like a genre. A lot of coming of age type stuff too did this.
No, okay, first of all, it actually reminds me a lot of Fire Emblem, where the whole thing where it's like if you never played a Fire Emblem game, they always do that, and it pisses me off because there's sometimes where the same thing will happen, but a character you love, it'll be all like, oh, this king you've been fighting with 2 years after the war, like he went to another battle and he got shot with an arrow and died. And I'm like, what? I kept him alive this entire game. He got shot with an arrow in a random battle. But you know what this really reminds me of? You guys ever see Stand By Me?
No.
So, and it's funny because that is a coming of age story. So at the end of Stand By Me, you have this whole touching. No, Stand By Me is the one with the one where they find the body, and they go on the journey to go find the body, like you know, to go find this.
Seeing it is, it's a Stephen King thing.
It's a Stephen King thing, yeah. It's called The Body, actually. But so at the end of it, the two best friends, like the movie ends with them literally going off in the separate directions with their kids. It's like, yeah, it's like we went our separate ways. It's like, nothing could change that summer we had together, though. Typical coming of age nonsense. And then you get the epilogues. And get this. The reason he's writing the whole story, by the way, is because this happens. His best friend, the main character's best friend, he like out of nowhere, it's like, yeah, it's like he grew up and he became like he overcame his hard life, got a good job, had a good family, and then one night he was drinking at a bar, stopped the bar fight, and got stabbed. And it's like,
yeah, I'm curious why this was such a big thing for a while. Because like the epilogue for They Were 11, it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of just needless, like fluff. It's not adding anything to the characters, and the story's already over.
Yeah, and I want to add, like, some of the stuff that they say isn't accurate. If
yes,
you read
from the sequel,
which already came out, like in manga form.
Yeah, the manga had been out.
Yeah, it's been out, and they're like, let's just slap some epilogues at the end.
Yeah, because these people come back for the sequel. It's not like the sequel just stars Furl and Tada, like, out of the blue. Maybe they just assumed nobody would watch them, nobody would read the manga, which hadn't been published at that point in over a decade. But yeah, and then obviously Tada and Furl, they don't get their own title cards. They just get it together. They completed pilot training together and married, which technically is lore accurate, but the rest of it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, the ending theme, I have it in my notes, Tokoton I Love You by Michiko Kawai. I mentioned it before, I love that song in general. I just had it in my playlist of like 80s like pop music. I totally forgot. I don't think I ever knew, because I don't think I ever really paid attention to the song when I watched it before. Because I didn't watch this like 20 years. So like I didn't associate two together. And I'm like, oh shit, that's where it came from. But yeah. And I don't know, this is a great manga. Hopefully everyone reads it. The art's amazing. We didn't talk too much about this at the beginning, but like the art's great. It's very wordy on the page. I feel like that's just one detriment if we're going to go over about its visual appeal. But other than that, if you can get over the fact that it's a lot of reading, it's dense just because it has to be. It's such a short story. I'm glad we read it. I read the Viz comic book version, which I think you could find pretty easily if you want to just buy them on Amazon. I mean, on Amazon, on eBay. And I kind of recommend that, if for no other reason that it's a weird time capsule, because we didn't bring it up this time, but it's just like, it's hilarious that this is that shoujo manga was so new that the back of each issue it explained like what shoujo is, as if they had to tell everyone what it is. And yeah, and then like it's just wild seeing some of the ads they had in there, like for the new manga magazine that was, I guess, only ran a couple issues. They talk about Clamp being new and stuff like that. And should also mention that this was very arguably, the very first like non one shot or non-incomplete series shoujo series ever published in English. I actually went forward to like double check that. Technically, there were a few one-shots. Rose of Versailles had a few chapters published in some magazines, but I think this was the first, even though it's short, it's still the first full series published in English, which is interesting. It has a good place in history.
Yeah, because like the versions that you were reading, like that sounds really interesting to me. Like you mentioned earlier, there is like an age gap between us, so you got to see more of like you said your version is like a comic book, like
yeah, and I remember those Viz comics, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's really cool to me. Like this is like They Were 11 is like a really good manga, and hopefully, they did actually publish it again.
Yeah, it just got or is getting. It's been kind of weird because we mentioned when we first announced the manga we were doing that it was being republished by
Dempa.
I forget who, Dempa. That was supposed to come out.
No, it's still coming out. It's coming out in March.
Late. Yeah, it was supposed to come out like late January.
Oh, I didn't know they delayed it. Okay.
The day it came out, it showed as sold out, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I didn't think it would sell out." And suddenly, like, the release date has changed to March. So yeah, I'm like, I don't know what's up with that, but there is allegedly a new printing. Like, it's in it's in the like the jumbo size manga that you don't see too often, except for like special editions. At least not here, I don't think.
Yeah, and we discussed this too, that it has a very high page count. So it's my assumption that either that's a mistake, which it could be, or it just has a lot of art and extra material included. I hope it's the latter because I did pre-order it and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe it has. Oh, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't have the sequel because I did check this out. They are publishing the sequel separately, and I don't think that's. They
Oh,
haven't.
interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, because I don't think this sequel ever got translated and published in English.
exactly.
Just
And
yeah.
it doesn't have a release date. I only discovered that through like a press release. I need to get on Dempa if you're listening. Put us on your press list. I just saw that press release on someone else's site. But yeah, um, send us
Please,
the manga.
Dempa.
Yeah, send us the manga and we'll review it again. We'll do this a third time. Okay, no, realistically, we'll just
Compare translation.
realistically, we'll just do a much shorter review of the translation and their whatever material they add. We won't do this whole thing again. But yeah, the final thoughts
Yeah.
on the manga. B, you can go first.
There's some other things we didn't go over, but I don't think it's too
Oh,
important.
what do
Like
you
there was a
think?
whole long discussion about Icarus that happened, how like everyone's planet had their own Icarus myth, and they kind of talked about that as they're getting closer to the
Well,
sun.
there's a lot of religion talk that we didn't cover this time at all. Like they
There
even,
is a lot
yeah,
of religion talk, a lot of like news stuff that we kind of skipped over, but I don't think we need to get too
yeah.
into all of that.
Honestly, that was mainly, and that would probably been a good time to have mentioned it then. Like when I was bringing up the whole thing about like how I really wonder if Fro's planet is like a theocracy that's just like run amok. That's kind of the reason why I wonder that is because there's a lot of talk of religion in general, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, I wanted to talk about the anime. In the anime, they bring that up a little bit more. Like Frol says that their gender is determined by the government, and like Frol
Yes.
keeps saying the government, the government. Um, like Frol really doesn't have a choice. But in the anime, they emphasize how like the government's really controlling Frol's life, and I think that's really interesting, especially today.
Yeah.
In today's
yeah.
oh, and we were talking about how you were saying like by today's standard this manga would be considered like, oh, this is so woke and this and
Yeah.
that, but it's handled so casually
That's
in
the
the
wild
manga.
thing. Yeah, like
Yeah, like
even if somebody wrote this today with good intentions, like not trying to be like obviously like they were just writing it to write it. I don't think they would write this not flippantly, but like these plot points aren't as important. Like we look back on them like, wow, that's amazing, but they were just included. Like, oh yeah, she's genderless, or they're genderless.
yeah, like it's not a big deal. It's not a big plot point. Like the main focus of the story is that there's 11 people and it's a sci-fi. It's like Moto Hagio is known for being one of the earliest producing one of the earliest works of like shonen ai or boys love, but that's not the focus here. And the focus isn't like Frol questioning like his gender. It's like, hey, there's an extra person on the ship. What the hell, But that's kind of like the charm of it for me. It's not like a big political point. They're just like, yo, what's up with Frol? And Frol talks about it or no, not Frol. New explains it for like a page or two, and then they move on with the story.
Yeah.
It's not, no one's hung up on it. It's just like, okay, that's just a fact of like space life. But like, it's still really interesting to see like how the dynamics like roll out while they're dealing with like their tests, their everyday lives, kind of. You get me? So yeah, that's Moto Hagio. A lot of really interesting stuff about gender and sexuality in her works. If you want to explore that,
Maybe we'll
a
read
little
another
bit
Moto
more.
Hagio work later on. Maybe we'll read what was it called? The
Magic. I don't remember anymore.
the wind and something.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the one you're talking about.
Oh, the wind's the one by
Heart
the friend.
of Thomas.
The Heart of Thomas is
Yeah.
the one. Yeah, the Heart of Thomas is the boys' love one. Never mind. Sorry, I got confused with my own titles.
Yeah.
These aren't my notes. I actually know very little about Moto Hagio.
No, you're good because they are kind of like companion pieces. Like one made that, and then the other one made the other one. They're both inspired by like the same book, so it makes they're confused because they go hand in hand. Really, you can't read one without the other, in my opinion.
So yeah, going back to B though, what are your some more of your final thoughts?
I want to bring up that if you do want to read a little more about Moto Hagio, and especially on the subject of coming of age, since this sort of was one mostly, um, there's an interesting conversation she had with Hideaki Anno and Shimako Sato in like 2000, and I think the article was kind of going around last year of like a translation of it. But they have a really interesting conversation about storytelling, and it does come up. Coming of age comes up in that they discuss it. Anno actually says the first of Hagio's work that he read was They Were 11. Um, and that
cool.
seems like he was a fan of hers, and she was a fan of his. They are from different. I think she is significantly older than him.
Well, I'd
I'm
imagine,
not entirely
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
but yes, there's like interesting conversation about that. We can maybe put somewhere in the show notes or something. I'll link it to.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll do my final thoughts before I throw it to Ruby. First of all, Bea brought up a really good point there about the interview being, about Moto Hagio potentially being significantly older than Hideaki Anno. Interesting to note, we didn't mention this time around. We didn't know until we were recording the first time. This is the 50th anniversary ish, or last year was this year was 75-25. So yeah, this is the 50th anniversary of this release of this manga. I think it came out like in June or July. So yeah, we accidentally
November,
so
sometime
half a century later, guys. Isn't that wild? It's still relevant, and isn't it funny how little we've progressed as a society when it comes to gender topics like this? If anything, we've gone a little backwards, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, honestly, that segues perfectly. I think this is a story worth reading for that alone. I mentioned the art is great too. I love the series. It's weirdly nostalgic to me for a lot of weird reasons, because it reminds me of the old, especially the version I read, reminds me of the old school anime days. The movie was amongst the first anime DVDs I ever owned, like period. And the song I mentioned earlier, Togotone I Love You, that's a song I've loved for a long time, and I don't think I ever associated it with the movie. Maybe I knew it back 20 years ago when I was putting it in my playlist, but I definitely have long forgotten about that association until recently. So it's great. Read it. Get that new version that's coming out by Dempa. Like, you can go in and buy it now, because I placed my pre-order the last time we recorded, so if it sells out, I should get mine. Anyway,
and mine too, right?
Yeah, why not? Thank you, Ruby, for recommending this one. And speaking of which, we'll throw it back to Ruby for her final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I do have one thing I wanted to say. It is funny that throughout the manga, there is a point where, like, after Frol kind of explains, like, well, yeah, if I take hormones, I'll be a woman, but if I pass the test, I could be a man. And like, Tada kind of walks away like, oh, a little bit of a shame, like Frol would be a beautiful woman. And the fact that it's kind of like, well, I'll become a woman for you and get married. This is supposed to be like in the future, in space. Like, do gay people not exist? Like,
yes.
Bull could still be a man.
No,
and they could still get, like, gay space marriage not exist.
Yeah, like we thought.
Tada can't play because he's the main character.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
yeah, they gotta do the thing where it's like they could definitely fall in love and get like space gay married, but then one of them has to die, like, immediately afterwards. Isn't that the trope? Isn't that the trope? Like, bury your gays. Isn't that like the traditional genre trope whenever something like this happens? But yeah, it is funny you mentioned that, because I thought so too. It's just like, guys, you guys could still get married. There's no problem with that. Clearly, there's some sparks going on between you guys. It's fine. It's fine. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the Space Federation will just like disown them, and they'll have to go live on, like, on one of those planets to do the tests on whether uninhabited or whatever.
They'll just have to live on the gay planet. There must be one.
Yeah, there has to be a gay planet after all this. Like, because we're in that level of sci-fi logic where there's a jungle planet, there's the polygamous planet, there's the snake planet, there's the gay planet. Just go live there. But yeah. Anything else?
I wanted to point that out too. But that, and like, going back to what you had said, like half a century this manga's been out. It's only been published 3 times in English. Now, the first time was like the comics you have, and then there is a second publishing. It was part of an anthology Viz did,
Yeah.
called Four Short Shoujo Stories. That's a mouthful. It was published back then, and then finally, that was published like in the 90s, and then now finally Denpa. So, I mean, for being something that's a little bit unknown, it sure keeps coming back. If you haven't read it yet, I really suggest picking it up. It's only 4 chapters. It's not that long. It is, like I think B and Manuel mentioned, really text heavy. If that is a problem for you, Moto Hagio does have some longer sci-fi works that I highly recommend checking out. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? How like this came out before Star Wars, this came out before Among Us.
It came, yeah, like I actually didn't come. Thank you for bringing that up. Like, there's so many things I mentioned. Like, there was the whole, like I mentioned the Final Fantasy VIII scene. I mentioned Among Us. I mentioned all this other stuff. And it sounds like I might be joking, but in all seriousness, like maybe people did experience this in some form. Like, I don't know. Maybe the Among Us people were like me. Maybe they bought this DVD 20 years ago, however long it was ago, and they watched it, and they actually it's not in the anime, but they read the comic books and they saw that scene in the space scene, because that eject scene also reminds me a bit about it. But then the whole plot about the button and stuff like that just feels a little, and I guess that is a basic plot, but still, like some of this feels a little on the nose, you know. In general, I find this wild, like how like some of the sci-fi tropes they got that are popular now, or like you would feel this is derivative if it came out today.
Yeah, so last time B had mentioned the book Among Us is based off of or inspired by
The Thing.
The Thing.
The Thing.
So The Thing was based on a book. The Thing, the Thing that everyone talks about now, the
John Carpenter.
Carpenter. Okay, yeah, I sometimes get some of them mixed up. Don't worry about it. The Thing came out in '82, based on, I don't know if his was directly based on the book or if it was based on The Thing from Another World from 1951. But either way, they both go back to the book Who Goes There from 1938.
Okay, yeah, because I know Moto Hagio, I had read that she's a really big sci-fi fan, so it makes sense that, if she's reading those, then those are probably her inspirations for this manga.
I could imagine that she might have seen The Thing from Another World, or
yeah, I was gonna say like
that idea might just be around in fiction, or have been around in fiction more than we know.
But yeah, very interesting, very cool. I know the running joke is that, like, oh, the original Among Us. It's not, but still pick it up and give it a try. It is really interesting. And yeah, Manuel, take it away. Unless we got cut out again.
No, give me 1 second. Sorry, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I need to make a note for that too. Hold on. It's fine. I know this whole ending has to be like trimmed, so it's fine. But yeah, I guess those are my final thoughts. I said earlier already, so we'll wrap this one up. This was a good JD list episode. It's funny because I don't think we mentioned that at all. JD's not here.
Yeah.
It's
fine. He's in Japan. I guess I'll let the cat out the bag now. For those that don't wonder why we mentioned, if you made it to the end, we actually had to completely re-record this because of audio issues. So, yeah, it's funny that this episode is still about the same length as the other. And I feel like, you know what? I'm going to release the other one to like Patreon or something. Or I'll just upload them both, but I'll mark one like, don't watch this or don't listen to this in case, or put it on YouTube or something. I'll make it, because I feel like we could bury it there and not put it on Spotify. Easier. You know what I mean? I just want to include it in the playlist of the actual episodes. So people could listen to it on their own. Because there is some stuff there, but it's hard to hear us all. But maybe you want to hear like our more beat by beat take on the story. But I feel like it's interesting that we managed to cover like everything important again in a different way. But on that note, yeah, next month will be it's March. We have a whole new month ahead of us, and JD will be back for that one. and it's my turn to pick the manga, not because it actually is my turn, but it's because JD isn't here. So I already picked it. It's Princess I. By I'm not sure exactly who created the art, but I know it's written by Courtney Love and DJ Milky, aka Stu Levy from Tokyo Pop. It's a Tokyo Pop original manga, original English language manga. It has art by not art. It has character designs by Ayazawa, which is like its big claim to fame. Some people think she did the entire art, but she did it. She just did the character designs.
You know, when I definitely cracked it open for the first time, I was disappointed by that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh. Like I had just finished reading like everything she's ever done, and I was like, okay, last one, Princess I, and I was like, oh, never mind, and I just put it back down.
No, but I've been interested forever. Like I mentioned this last time, but like I had a girlfriend around the time when I was first getting into like manga in general, and I actually got the manga, like bought it new at like a Barnes and Noble or a Borders when it was being released, like 2004 or 5, whatever year that was. And I remember she read them, and I think I was just being stupid. I'm like, it's a girl manga. Like, you know, I was a lot younger. I was just stupid. So I was just like, you know, I'm not going to read this. And, but I've thought about it before ever since. And I'm like, I really want to read it. And I never have, you know, so yeah, it'll be interesting. And I feel it's only 3 volumes.
Oh, never. I was going to say it might be our first one that none of us have read yet.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
but no, because I think none of us had read Tekken Concrete yet either.
You hadn't read Tekken Concrete?
No.
Then why did you pick it?
Because I wanted to read it. Why did you pick Princess I?
Oh, I guess it is true. I like how this realization just came late. But anyway, maybe we'll have Ruby back. She seemed mildly interested. If not, then we'll see what happens. But if we have Ruby back, then I would love to have you back anyway. I apologize to both of you for having to re-record this. But yeah, so
it is your fault if it gets on record that it's your fault?
Oh, it totally is my fault. The audio issues were my issues. I won't explain it here. I'm gonna do a whole new intro to the fucked up version that I'm gonna put on like YouTube or wherever. And in that intro, I'll explain what happened and about like, you know, if you want to hear this or not, whatever. But I'll put that up and I'll just bury it. I just feel like it's not worth throwing away. I just can't be able to delete it, so I'll just hide it somewhere. But yeah, on that note, thank you guys for coming back. It is awkward doing the same thing twice, but like I said, we got all the points out, and I do think that we did it in a totally different way, which is weird. But anyway, as always, thank you for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends.
We want to hear, like, if you're listening, if you made it this far, like, give us a comment. Let us know what's good, what sucks.
Yeah.
Recommend manga for us to read. Share with your friends. Yeah. Follow us on social media. We're on Blue Sky now.
As always, I'm Manuel.
I'm Bea.
And I'm Ruby.
And you were reading the wrong way.